random episode, and we will randomly pick one of the topics. When I say one of the topics, I mean we would first of all we would randomly pick a platform, and from there on we're gonna randomly pick topics within that platform. So it's gonna be a lot of there's gonna be a lot of randomness. So that being said, let's see what are we gonna check out today. The Twitter session yesterday was great. I liked it. Oh, we're gonna do the Wikipedia. And if you are not sure, uh, if you're not sure, then Wikipedia have this option from where you can pick a random article. And I love that option because, I don't know what I'm gonna maybe learn about. But before we check out a random article, let's see what's going on in the world. So, Salman Rushdie was critically injured after a knife attack. And that is disheartening. I mean, I haven't read Salman's book, but I've heard stories about him even when I was in India. Just a kid like trying to understand what topics we can talk about and what we can't talk about. And to a certain degree, Hinduism is a freer religion, meaning, it allows you to explore various ideas and various concepts. Uh, Still, they have their own set rules, like every other religion. But and of course there are extremists in Hindu religion as well who would kill others for openly expressing their views. And but it's more prevalent in Islamic world. And to a certain degree I feel that's because the stage Islam is in the evolution of religion, I guess. Because Christianity used to be the same way, in the Dark Ages. That's why they used to call it Dark Ages. But as people um, became more aware, I guess, of the reality and stopped buying into the bullshit of Christianity, we can see that Christianity as a religion, lost its influence, and therefore people stopped, I don't know, stoning others or maybe implementing any of the other barbaric punishments doctrined in their holy book. But Islam, because it started few centuries later than Christianity, it um, still have to do a lot of catch up. Interestingly, Hinduism started like a long time back. Who knows how long back? There are people who say 10,000 years back. It's debatable. I mean, the whole civilization as we know it dates back to 12,000 years back. So 10,000 years of Hinduism would be a stretch. But regardless, the point being, Hinduism is very interesting because historically speaking, it's been open to other religions, even though within Hinduism there's casteism, there is like so much, uh, you know, um, bigotry, so much discrimination. So I'm not gonna uh, rule that out. But that being said, the essence of the religion, the Hinduism, and the people who actually dive into the religious text are the uh, the opinions to some degree of the sane scholars who left back their text uh, that itself uh, changes the way Hindus look at the religion. Meaning, there are so many different authors who created so many different versions of gods. Even there are same stories written by different authors and have like different modifications in the story, because they those authors kind of like created those stories based on their own personal biases, I guess. But once they have those documents or scriptures, there are sect within Hinduism which would be leaning towards one scripture over the other. But you would hardly see anyone fight over that within Hinduism. I mean, at least not anymore. Who knows historically what was the course? But I feel like within Hinduism, if one sect of people pray a particular god, they won't be fighting with a fellow Hindu who prays another sect of God. So that's why it becomes kind of unique, because people are more tolerant to that degree, I guess. Even though there are again so many discrimination, bigotry within the traditions and even maybe text within Hinduism. But that being said, I feel that Hinduism is is a concept which pretty much engulf every other religion. Meaning, like the some of the other religions which started within India, like Sikhism, Jainism, Buddhism. A lot of these religions still kind of like cross pray each other's god, I guess. I mean, there are so many Sikhs who follow the doctrine of Guru Granth Sahib, but they also pray to Hindu gods. Likewise, a lot of Hindus do the same with the holy book of Sikhism, and the holy book or the temples of Jainism. So a lot of Hindus even go and visit Jain temple, and a lot of Jains visit Hindu temples. And on paper, these two are separate religions. So it's very unique in that way, and I feel that that happens because Hinduism had have figured out how to kind of bind people instead of divide them based on religion. This is my opinion. Who knows how true it is, or um, if there is any element of truth in whatever I'm going to say next. But in my opinion, back in the day, every region within India have their own gods, like a regional gods. And obviously, if once you start having gods like within your tribe or within your region, you're not far off from starting a holy wars, with all the other people who don't believe or buy into your doctrine. But maybe at some point, people kind of realize that, let's just bind these two gods together, kind of like for I don't know if it's a good analogy or not, but maybe more on the line of like when we see different superheroes fighting among each other. For example, Avengers. There was the first edition of Avenger. There was like this Civil War movie where a bunch of superheroes they were fighting among themselves. Civil War, because they don't agree on a philosophy, right? And but both are sort of the good guys, like God like figures. So if I draw the same analogy, I would assume that back in the day there used to be fights among tribes, in order to impose their god. But eventually they all realized that, oh, there are so many superheroes, and we don't have to necessarily fight over that. We can just say, okay, we welcome all superheroes, we welcome all gods. But personally speaking, I kind of lean towards this particular god because of whatever because of mostly because of their storylines and the power they have. Uh, However, uh, there are rebellious religions. I shouldn't even say religion, but more like philosophies like Buddhism. And Buddha pretty much, spent his life post enlightenment trying to help people to guide towards meditation and um, trying to show them that the traditions in the then Hindu cultures were so subhumane and also wasn't connecting them to the source, the universe, the God, however people want to absorb that, or the present moment. But I believe Buddha was showing people the path to find peace within their life instead of relying on these scholars and brahmins or priests to kind of communicate with God and tell them, like, how they can resolve problems within their life. Uh, that was the role of the priest before, I guess, psychologists took over. But back in the day, people used to go to priests so that they can have conversation about their personal life, and priests knowing all the laws of, or all the things God would, want the the I would say victim, but the believer to follow, right? And that transcended into psychologists, right? To a certain degree, like people go to psychologists, and I have never been to one. I've never been to one's office, but I can imagine like watching other movies and TV shows. I think psychologists would try to help people by empowering them with the tools they need. And back in the day, the priest used to do the same thing. They used to kind of like come up with this ritual to kind of make their uh, make the devotee believe that, say, they repent over something they did, or their issue is resolved. Especially when it comes down to Hinduism, I can't talk about the other religion because I have very little experience living that lifestyle. But within Hinduism, there are so many different times you can get away, or you can find loopholes within its own set traditions. For instance, there are so many different rituals you can uh, do, or you can perform to kind of um, to mitigate any of your problems or issues. And that's what kind of makes me crazy about this religion and other religions too, but also Hinduism especially, because people obviously genuine problems in their life, and they reach out to these priests to kind of seek out and figure out what's a optimal path they should take to 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 still be a good person, I guess. But a lot of times these priests, they entrap them by making them invest into some sort of ritual. Like they create these ritual, or they have the scriptures with points to a specific ritual, and the specific set of verses, the mantras they have to perform during the ritual to resolve the issue the devotee is having. If that makes sense. And uh, the the uh, the reasoning, at least what I've heard from a lot of people who justify this, is that the verses and the mantras you perform during the ritual create the vibration, and those vibrations help the devotee to kind of um, get over their problems or issue. I think it's more about belief. I mean, sure, if you have a good rhythm and cadence music or a chanting, it will bring peace to a lot of people, if they're especially if they're um, in the flow with the chants and music. But at the same time, their belief make huge difference. If they do believe that that ritual kind of like fix their problem, then they will have a different approach when they run into same issue, I guess. And that different approach helped them to get over that issue, instead of like just chanting some set of verses, because it create vibrations, and those vibrations create the situations which will um, be ideal for you, or those vibrations will get rid of the bad vibes in your life. I mean, I think those are all kind of stupid, nutty arguments. I mean, obviously, music play a vital role into bringing, bringing peace in people's mind, bringing making them more grounded, and to a lot of degree to kind of forget their pains and be in the present moment. And these chants and mantras and even songs about these different rituals absolutely help people to kind of get over their issue, and that kind of reflect in their personal life, and they start believing in more and more into these rituals. And whenever they come into like any sort of issues or encounter any situation which they can't handle, they end up going back to some of the other priest who could perform some of the other rituals, and which can help them resolve that situation. But I mean, to a certain degree, I don't have any problem with that. Like if people are uh, buying into this belief uh, for themselves, and if that delusional belief is making their life better, more power to you. I mean, I don't care at all. I care when those beliefs are being passed on or are being imposed on others. You do you. I mean, if you want to believe into some imaginary God who would resolve all of your issues, sure, do that. But I come from a mindset where I think the life the, will have all spectrum of situations, and depending on your life circumstances and depending on so many different variables, you will be going through ups and downs within your life, and those ups and downs are always going to be there. The degree to which you experience those ups and downs varies. It varies vastly based on your mindset, for sure, and also how prepared you are, for the downs, I guess, and how um, even how prepared you are for the ups, so that you can use the good times in your life to create maybe more memorable things, and to kind of um, fuel yourself to achieve something. But regardless, these ups and downs are gonna be there in our lives, and uh, sure, diving into the music or diving into anything, any hobby or anything which puts you into a flow state, will be a better approach to resolving all the miseries in the life, or at least process it through. But reaching out to astrologers, priests, I think that's again, to each their own. That's not for me. So um, I truly believe that I'm creating the path I want to walk on, and I'm not taking away uh, anything from all the people who helped and supported me on my journey so far. And I'm not gonna take away anything from all the people who are continuing to support me, and will become a part of my tribe to a certain degree, I guess, and kind of maybe grow with me on grow with me towards the goal I'm envisioning. And obviously they grow, and they everyone have their own personal goals. But the point I'm making is that everyone have this choice, for lack of better word. Uh, Everyone have this choice to spend or to invest their time and attention on the things which either they want to or they need to, or which makes their life fulfilling. Everyone have that choice. And like everyone, I'm lazy as fuck, and I uh, plenty of times misuse or don't use or write out, just ignore the opportunities which comes along my way. But regardless, I have a choice, and I am responsible for the reactions, or the result of my choices. And again, I'm not the sole person responsible for everything happening in my life, because I'm a part of the network. I'm part of a group, a tribe. I'm part of this reality, and a lot of other variables affect my life. So I'm not the only person who can control my life to 100%. You know what I mean? There are always going to be factors and situations which I wouldn't be able to anticipate. But I am 100% responsible for how I react to these situations. So life gonna throw all kind of random things at my way, and for sure some of these random things, I guess I'm used to. I've had years of practice of getting over those random things, so it's easier for me to process that. And I'm sure there are going to be like some random things which I'm unprepared, and which going to throw me off my balance. And hopefully I'll learn from it and learn new experience, and use that experience in other areas of my life, and um, keep moving forward. But I guess this whole thing, meaning like recording and going through like random things, this whole thing is part of a process. I mean, I feel like I uh, to a certain degree, I feel that there are things which you come across which you don't anticipate, and but like some random uh, video, like YouTube video, you may see in your suggestions, right? Like it could be like something different than your history, your watch history. So I call some of those things, not just me, I guess, like we call those things as synchronicity, right? Like when random things come together, and it kind of create this story or this narrative. um, and who knows, there might be something more to that too. I can't rule out that we as an individual persons uh, have capacity to maybe interact, uh, or let me rephrase. I mean, there were times when I thought about some person, and maybe in an hour or 2 hours or that day, I received like a text from that person. And there were like hundreds of other examples when I thought of some person and never got anything back. So again, it's you can call it as the 1 in 100 chances that someone you thought of on that particular day, they responded back. It could be a random coincidence, or what we call synchronicity, where random things kind of come together, and it kind of makes sense, or it kind of creates like this mind-boggling illusion or effect that you're like, oh shoot, I thought about that person and they texted, or or you feel like you're just driving and you saw some sort of like sign, maybe an advertisement, and could who knows what that advertisement triggers you, like, oh shoot, this is the sign I was waiting for to take XYZ action, right? And a lot of people do that, and to large degree that is self-create, right? Meaning, especially when you're looking for a signs in the universe to kind of to accomplish something which you want to, and it could be a little woo woo, but that's what people call, I believe, what they call law of attraction, because when you're already focused on achieving a particular goal, or if you're already focused on a particular concept, or something going through your mind, and then you see things which helps you, or which kind of becomes kind of like tools for the thing you're going through. uh, Let me give an example. Like, imagine like you're just driving and you saw a sign about losing weight, and that sign triggered you to kind of take an action to either create like a exercise regime for yourself, or maybe like go and join gym, or take some sort of action towards that. But you can look at that sign as some sort of like sign from the universe or whatever, um, or you can just look at it as, oh, this random thing came together. Like, I was thinking about creating a healthy lifestyle, and I saw this sign, and it feels kind of like I am doing the right thing. So let me take another step towards that action, towards that goal. And again, different people contemplate or analyze these things differently, and I'm an overthinker. I think a lot, and I should say, like, not all of those thoughts are interesting or even worthy of sharing, but uh, just overthinking things, I try to break down the underlying um, triggers or underlying reasons for things happening in life. So the synchronicity is, to a certain degree, it is random, because random things come together, and for better or worse, you coincidentally make sense, and everything is tied together. And I love that feeling, though. The feeling of everything tied together so well that it feels kind of like, it feels kind of right. It feels right that whatever you're doing, whatever you're thinking, everything is aligned with your actions and whatnot, with your mindset, I guess. But I don't know why we got into that conversation. Uh, but yeah, poor Salman Rushdie. I hope he's doing good. I hope he, heals and get better. All right, what else is happening? A mass die-off of fish, beavers, and other wildlife occurs in the Oder River in Poland, causing a health and environmental crisis. And then a mass shooting after a family conflict in Cetinje, Montenegro, leaves 11 people dead and 6 others injured. The chess Olympiad concludes with Uzbekistan winning the open event and Ukraine winning the women's event. Ukraine, wow, playing chess, not the war chess. Although I'm sure they're sort of playing a war chess too. I mean, the situation in the whole Ukraine and Russia side of the world is hilarious. Um, no, let me correct myself. When I say hilarious, I don't mean like the war or the deaths or all the conflict. I don't think any of that is funny or hilarious, but I think it's hilarious because it's coming and biting back, especially biting back to the military industrial complex of United States, because uh, I don't know how many people remember, but even before Russia attacked Ukraine, U.S. was prepping for that war. U.S. were sending war equipments to the NATO countries closer to Ukraine. They started they started escalating things for no reason, and then they kind of like cornered Putin, and it felt like they sort of uh, created this whole thing, because even Ukraine at the time, I don't know how many people remember their president. He sarcastically joked, because U.S. media was going nuts, because he actually, if I recall correctly, he said something on the line of like, on this particular date, something like, I think it was April sometime, or February, who I don't remember, but on this particular date and this particular time, Russia gonna invade us. And like U.S. media went berserk. They were like, "Oh, look what Ukraine is saying. The Russia gonna invade." And next day, everyone in Ukrainian media were like, "Yeah, there's U.S. media is so dumb. Like they wanted to create this narrative about war, whereas Ukraine was trying to like, hey, don't bring in troops, don't beat this war drum hole. But that's how a lot of news media make money in here in US. So there here we are. They kind of piled on, and to a certain degree created this escalation. And I feel that they're doing something similar with China too, because uh, again, this could be a little cuckoo. Who knows? It is a conspiracy, but a lot of people in power, they want war because war is good for their business. War is good because whenever there is chaos in the country, they can get away with all the crappy things which they impose on people, and they also make money with all the what do you call the 10 the military equipments and whatnot. So it's a win-win situation for these war hawks. So they would do everything to escalate the situation and create conflicts and start another war. So when they started this whole Ukraine and Russia, maybe who knows if their calculation was like, Russia and China are going to join hands, and then US with other ally could uh, sort of have maybe at least the economic warfare with the China and Russia, and who knows, escalate to even more physical. But and again, a lot of this is just BS. My opinion. I'm just spinning. I don't know how much of this is truth, but I feel there is some layer of truth in that, because these people actually love to create new wars, and especially the wars which are not even close to U.S., because they can just do whatever they want and keep people here in shadows and get away with all the war crimes, which has been happening for who knows, for a century now, within the U.S. government. But right now, a few weeks back, or maybe last week, Nancy Pelosi, she's the head of the House, which is one of the part of the Congress. So she went to Taiwan for no reason, for no fucking reason. She just went there, and China started escalating their military side. So she went there. I would assume, if I'm being conspiratorial, I would assume because her donors made her to go there. So more conflict. If there is even like more friction, more war, they benefit. So things like this, we got to keep an eye on things like these, because these random situations can be enforced on us in various aspects, and before we know it, we are either trying to make sense of the things, or we are completely bought into their narrative and just do whatever they want to blindfoldly. And that's one of the reasons why I feel that um, what I do um, as a stand-up comedy is important, because and even as a stand-up comic, I try to kind of peel off the biases which I wear, and try to look at the things from various angle, and um, and hopefully find fun in that. Uh, but a lot of people are scared of going there, because if they start challenging their own narrative or their own construct of reality, it could get to a place where they start losing their own identity. And that's the bigger challenge of our timeline, uh, because a lot of people, they ironically, they are so attached to their identity that they they miss out on all the possibilities, and also they miss out on living a more healthier and happier life. Because if you latch onto a particular label of your identity as you, then anyone, anything which goes against that label will make you feel threatened. And once you feel threatened, you're gonna act or react the way you do, depending on your own process. That being said, not knowing what identity, or I guess, like, not being uh, comfortable enough to wear different identities, or to not wear any identity at all, and still be comfortable, that requires lot of work. To give you an example, I mean, let's just say, um, during my uh, during my job, I'm wearing a label of my professional job title, right? So I'm a sales engineer during my working hours, and that is my identity. So when I interact with customers, I'm interacting as a sales engineer. But once I wrap up my work and go to a show and do my stand up, I wear a different label. I am a stand up comic there. And my interactions are different with the people. And I try not to mix those things together. Especially when I'm in the business setting, I try not to kind of, like, uh, joke. I mean, obviously, I'm a joke about, like, the obvious things like Zoom or weather or random thing, all the boring jokes of the workplace, I guess. And obviously, and I try to bring my stand-up comedy bits um, when I'm interacting with customers, because that would be stupid. But that's the point I'm trying to make, and I'm comfortable wearing different labels at different times. But I'm more me when I'm doing stand-up, versus uh, when I'm interacting with customers, because when I'm interacting with customers, again, I'm wearing this professional label. And a lot of people are married to one or the other label, and when they latch onto that particular label as their identity, it become painful. And I've been through that. And there are moments when I still go through that, right? So you gotta remind yourself all the time. But but just having um, that flexibility to be able to wear different identities and not being attached to any of them, I feel made me a better person. Um, at least when I'm dealing with myself, because at the end of the day, that's what it matters. Because you could be nice to other people, you could be shitty to other people, but how you're dealing with yourself will create the sense of your overall life fulfillment. And of course, I shouldn't say of course, but yes, I have my own processes. At times I'm very hard on myself. At times I give myself a leeway. At times I'm a bit proud of myself. And those all kind of like, those are the various, I don't know, feelings, emotions, or um, uh, things. Yeah, it is. Those are emotions which go over, right? Like every other human. But I'm not making those emotions linked with my identity or with my label, right? So yeah, I it's easier for me to kind of um, talk about this, I guess, and also to kind of visualize it because I have spent a lot of time thinking about it, and I've done some of the work to kind of understand the different aspects of these things. Uh, but I also understand it could be difficult for someone who knows who might have that one thing as their identity, and that's the only thing which is going well in their life. So they don't want to let go of that. So who am I to um, all I'm saying is I've adapted some of these philosophies from the people I respect and the people I look up to. And that's what is the best strategy I can think of, which is to understand the processes the people you respect have, and see how you can model those processes in your life and make it innately yours, whatever works for you. For instance, I remember listening to this podcast, possibly on Tim Ferriss' show, and Tim and the guest, they were having this conversation about becoming a better writer, and it's not a secret. In order to become a better writer, you have to write more. And the author's process was pretty unique. Like they had like this date with themselves, so they set an alarm or whatever. Like they every day at 5 p.m., let's just say 5 p.m., they go to a particular place and like a coffee shop, and they write for like an hour or 2 hours or whatever their ritual is, right? And I think that's what everyone got to figure it out for themselves. Like, right? Like, it's everyone knows that if you want to be a good writer, you got to write every day. But what ritual you create and how you kind of who you um, model, or not who, but how you're gonna make that ritual innately yours is what um, I think makes it work for you. Okay, I'm knee deep into like five different topics right now, and we haven't even started this random article. To be honest, like, what's a rush, right? That's the other thing about internet. I got all the time, and I know some of you will skip or close right about now. All right, let's go into random article. Mexican, you can do it. Mexican, you can do it. is a 1985 Mexican drama film directed by Jose Estrada. It was entered into the 14th Moscow International Film Festival. Okay. Shoot. I was hoping that I could read the premise of the movie, but I don't know why this name sounds familiar. Was it like one of the? Yeah, he died. So was he one of the famous directors? I mean Spanish movie director, I guess. Is there a link to IMDb? Because I want to check it out. There you go. I want to check out the rating. Oh wow, 8.2, but also only 38 people. I mean, mm, yeah, if you have like less than 500 to 1,000 people or who reviewed your movie, I'm not gonna buy the rating. With so little sample size, it's hard to, yeah, it's hard to gauge. All right, the story is about the movie is comedy about what happens when a low-income Mexican family decides to change its lifestyle after seeing the glittering adverts about a new real estate development. Okay, I think it should be a good film for 1985. We could conceptually, a lot of things were happening around that time. So, yeah, what do you do? Like, how do you make quick money? How do you make the best use of your youth? All right, so let's check out uh, let's check out Jose Estrada, and that was his last movie. Okay, uh, I'm gonna pick like one of these at random. La Pachanga. How about that? Ah, another comedy movie. La Pachanga, The Party, is a 1981 Mexican comedy film directed by Jose Estrada. The film received three Ariel Awards in 1983: Best Director, Best Editing, and Best Art Direction. And the plot is during a weekend in Mexico City, the inhabitants of an old apartment building held two separate ceremonies: a quinceanera and a wake. Neighbors are mixed between the two parties while love, sex, comedy, and tragedy are combined. Nice. That seems kind of like a situational comedy movie. But let's check out this ritual. A quinceanera, also Fiesta de Quinceanera, Quinceaños, Fiesta de Quinceaños, and Quinces, is a celebration of a girl's 15th birthday. Huh. It has pre Columbian roots in Mexico and Guatemala and is widely celebrated by girls throughout Hispanic America. The girl celebrating her 15th birthday is a quinceanera. I think I heard about this term like not too long back. It's like coming to an age ritual. Okay, so in Spanish and in Hispanic America, the term quinceanera is reserved solely for the honoree. In English, primarily in the US, the term is used to refer to the celebrations and honors surrounding the occasion. The birthday is celebrated differently from any other as it marks the transition from childhood to young womanhood. Historically, in the years prior to their 15th birthdays, girls were taught cooking, weaving, and other childbearing by the elder women in their communities in preparation for their future roles as wives. And during the celebration, the girl's father would present her to potential suitors. Interesting. In the past, parallel customs could be found in Europe. Today, the custom remains strongest in Mexico. Its likely country of introduction during the viceregal or Mexican imperial periods. However, it is widely celebrated in Spanish speaking countries in the Americas. The grandest parties are comparable to British and US debutante balls. The celebration themselves vary significantly in different countries. For example, the festivities in some have taken on more religious overtones than in others. Nowadays, the Quinceanera is also celebrated by many Latino Americans in the US, each according to their traditions. In Brazil, a Portuguese speaking country, a similar celebration is called Festa de Debatantes, similarly to Baile de Debate or Festa de Quinceaños. In the French Caribbean and French Guiana, it is called Fêtes des Quinzeaños. Okay. Um, I bet it's just kind of like a party or something. Yeah, so in Mexico, let's check out. In Mexico, the Quinceanera is adorned with elegant jewelry and makeup. By tradition, this was to be the first time she would wear makeup in public. But in the 21st century, girls start using makeup at an early year age. The quinceanera is also expected to wear a formal evening dress, traditionally long, elegant ball gown chosen by the girl and most often her mother, according to her favorite color and style. All right. So, what are we doing in the ceremony? So, in the Mexican Catholic tradition, the Quinceanera celebration begins with a Thanksgiving Mass. She arrives at church accompanied by her parents, godparents, and court of honor. The court of honor is a group of her chosen peers consisting of paired of girls and boys, respectively known as damas or dames and chambelanes. Chamberlains. Typically, the court consists of pairs ranging from 7 to 15 damas and chamberlains. At this religious mass, a rosary or something, a necklace with a locket or pendant depicting Mexico's patron saint, the Virgin of Guadalupe, is presented to the teenager by her godparents. The necklace or rosary having been previously blessed by the priest. She is also awarded a tiara, which serves as a reminder that to her loved ones, especially her immediate family, the quinceanera will always be a princess. Some also see it as denoting that she is a princess before God and the world. After this, the girl may leave her bouquet of flowers on the altar for the Virgin Mary. Alright, so we don't gotta go in all of that. I do want to hop on to. Where should we hop on to from here? Hmm. Let's check this out. Bar and. Oh, well, no. Confirmation. So all of these gonna be similar to that, but in different cultures. Okay, let's dive maybe more educational side. So Hispanic and Latino Americans, in Spanish, hasta hasta don estadounidenses Hispanos y Latinos are Americans of full or partial Spanish and or Latin American ancestry. More broadly, these demographics include all Americans who identify as Hispanic or Latino regardless of ancestry. As of 2020, the Census Bureau estimated that there were almost 65.3 million Hispanics and Latinos living in the US and Puerto Rico, with around almost 19.5% of the overall population lives in Puerto Rico. Origin can be viewed as the ancestry, nationality group, lineage, or country of birth of the person or the person's parents or ancestors before their arrival in the United States of America. People who identify as Hispanic or Latino may be of any race. As one of the only two specifically designated categories of ethnicity in the US, the other being non Hispanic or Latino. Hispanics and Latinos form a pan ethnicity incorporating a diversity of interrelated cultural and linguistic heritages. Most Hispanic and Latino Americans are of Mexican, Puerto Rican, Cuban, Salvadoran, Dominican, Guatemalan, or Colombian or origin. The predominant origin of regional Hispanic and Latino populations varies widely in different locations across the country. In 2012, Hispanic Americans were the second fastest growing ethnic group by percentage growth in the US after Asian Americans. I'm surprised. What? Asian Americans are the fastest group? Hispanics are of indigenous descent and Native Americans are the oldest ethnic groups to inhabit much of what is today the US. Spain colonized large areas of what is today the American Southwest and West Coast, as well as Florida. Its holdings included present day California, Texas, New Mexico, Nevada, and Arizona, all of which constituted part of the Viceroyalty of New Spain, based in Mexico City. Later, this vast territory became part of Mexico after its independence from Spain in 1821 and until the end of Mexican American War in 1848. Hispanic immigrants to the New York, New Jersey metropolitan area derive from a broad spectrum of Hispanic countries. That's exactly what I was curious, like why Hispanic and Latino are like two different things. So the terms Hispanic and Latino refer to an ethnicity. The US Census Bureau defines being Hispanic as being a member of an ethnicity rather than being a member of a particular race. And thus, people who are members of this group may also be members of any race. In a 2015 national survey of self identified Hispanics, 56% said that being Hispanic is part of both their racial and ethnic background, while smaller numbers considered it part of their ethnic background only or racial background only. Hispanics may be of any linguistic background. In a 2015 survey, 71% of American Hispanics agreed that it is not necessary for a person to speak Spanish to be considered Hispanic or Latino. Hispanic and Latino people may share some commonalities in their language, culture, history, and heritage. According to Smithsonian Institute, the term Latino includes people from Portuguese roots, such as Brazilians, as well as those of Spanish language origin. In the US, many Hispanics are of Iberian, primarily Spanish, and indigenous American ancestry, mestizo. Others may have European, Middle Eastern, including Jewish, or Asian ancestry, as well as indigenous American ancestry. Many Hispanics from the Caribbean, as well as many Hispanics from other regions of the Hispanic world, where African slavery was widespread, may also be of sub Saharan African descent. The difference between the terms Hispanic and Latino is ambiguous to some people. The US Census Bureau equates the two terms and defines them as referring to anyone from Spain or the Spanish or Portuguese speaking countries of the Americas. After the Mexican American War concluded in 1848, term Hispanic or Spanish American was primarily used to describe the Hispanos of New Mexico within the American Southwest. The 1970 United States Census controversially broadened the definition to a person of Mexican, Puerto Rican, Cuban, Dominican, South or Central American, or other Spanish culture or origin, regardless of race. This is now the common formal and colloquial definition of the term within the U.S. outside of New Mexico. This definition is consistent with the 21st century usage of the U.S. Census Bureau and OMB as the two agencies use both terms Hispanic and Latino interchangeably. The Pew Research Center believes that the term Hispanic is strictly limited to Spain, Puerto Rico, and all countries where Spanish is the only official languages, whereas Latino includes all countries in Latin America, even Brazil, regardless of the fact that Portuguese is their only official language. But it does not include Spain. The term Latino is a condensed form of Latino Americano, who comes from Latin America. The term Latino has developed a number of definitions. This definition, as a male Latin American inhabitant of the United States, was the original and is therefore the oldest definition which is used in the US. It was first used in 1946. Under this definition, a Mexican American or Puerto Rican, for example, is both a Hispanic and a Latino. A Brazilian American is also a Latino by this definition, which includes those of Portuguese speaking origin from Latin America. But also, by this definition, Italian Americans are not considered Latino, as they are, for the most part, descendant from immigrants from Europe rather than from Latin America, unless they happen to have had recent history in a Latin American country. Preference of use between the terms among Hispanics in the US often depends on where users of the respective terms reside. Those in the eastern US tend to prefer the term Hispanic, whereas those in the West tend to prefer Latino. The US ethnic designation Latino is abstracted from the longer form Latino Americano. The element Latino is actually an indeclinable compositional form in O, that is an elemento compositivo, compositivo, that is employed to coin compounded formations, similar as Franco in Franco Canadiensis, French Canadian, or Ibero in Ibero Romanico, etc. All right. The term Latinx and similar neolocalism Xinax, I don't know what that is, gained currency among some in the 2010s. The adoption of the X would be reflecting new consciousness inspired by more recent work by LGBTQI and feminist movements. Some Spanish speaking activists are increasingly using a yet more inclusive X to replace the A or an O in a complete break with the gender binary. Among the advocates of the term Latinx, one of most frequently cited complaints of gender bias in the Spanish language is that a group of mixed or unknown gender would be referred to as Latinos, whereas Latinas refer to a group of women only. But this is changed immediately to Latinos if even a single man joins this female group. A 2020 Pew Research Center survey found that about 3% of Hispanics use the term, mostly women, and only around 23% have even heard of the term. Of those, 65% said it should not be used to describe their ethnic group. Some have pointed out that the term Hispanic refers to a pan ethnic identity, one that spans a range of races, national origins, and linguistic backgrounds. Terms like Hispanic and Latino do not fully capture how we see ourselves, says Geraldo Cadava, an associate professor of history and Hispanic studies at Northwestern University. According to 2017 American Community Survey data, a small minority of immigrants from Brazil, Portugal, and the Philippines self identify as Hispanic. So, by population, LA have 5 million, New York have 4, Miami have 2.5. Houston have 2.3. Interesting. Riverside in um, is it Ontario, Canada, or maybe California? Yeah, because obviously gotta be U.S. Uh, but yeah, 2 million. I'm surprised. Chicago 2 million, and I'm surprised Chicago is not up the list. Dallas 1.9 million, Phoenix 1.3, San Antonio 1.2, San Diego 1, and San Francisco 1 million. States and territories with the highest proportions of Hispanics, and this to like 12 years back. And obviously, Georgia isn't in here. Wait, actress Alexis Bledel is a white Hispanic of Argentine origin and Scottish, German, and Scandinavian heritage. Okay, yeah, she came from Argentina, and she did not learn English until she begins school. She's beautiful. Isn't Zoe in Westworld? No, no. She looked different here. All right, so what are we gonna do? There is obviously this is a long article, and it deserves to be a long article because it's capturing the entire culture of Hispanic and Latino communities. So actually, I'm gonna check out these things. These are the more cultural things. So let's start with sports and music. Because of different cultures throughout the Hispanic world, there are various music forms throughout Hispanic countries with different sounds and origins. Many Hispanics prefer musical genres from their home countries than music from the US. Mostly the recent arrivals listened to Spanish music, while Hispanics who've been in the US for generations tend to listen more to English music. Reggaeton and hip hop are genres that are most popular to Hispanic youth in the US. Soccer is a common sport for Hispanics from outside of the Caribbean region, particularly immigrants. Baseball is a common among Caribbean Hispanics. Other popular sports include boxing, football, and basketball. Cuisine. Hispanic food, particularly Mexican food, has influenced American cuisine and eating habits. Mexican cuisine has become so mainstream in American culture that many no longer see it as an ethnic food. Across the US, tortillas and salsa are arguably becoming as common as hamburger buns and ketchup. Tortilla chips have surpassed potato chips in annual sales, and plantain chips, popular in Caribbean cuisines, have continued to increase sales. Tropical fruits such as mango, guava, and passion fruit, which is maracuya, have become more popular and are now common flavors in desserts, candies, and food dishes in the US. Due to the large Mexican American population in the southwestern US and its proximity to Mexico, Mexican food there is believed to be some of the best in the US. Cubans brought Cuban cuisine to Miami, and today, cotadi- cotaditos, clearly I never had those, cotaditos, paselitos, the guayabe, and empanadas are common midday snacks in the city. If you have veggie option, I would love to try all of these things. But yeah, most of the food, even the Hispanic food, don't have veggie options. But Cuban culture has changed Miami's coffee drinking habits, and today a cafe con leche or a cortadito is commonly had at one of the city's numerous coffee shops. The Cuban sandwich, developed in Miami, is now a staple and icon of the city's cuisine and culture. Transnationalism? What is that? Like people who are trying to transition from Hispanic to US? Wait. Along with the feeling that they are neither from the country or of their ethnic background nor the US, a new identity within the US is formed called Latinidad. That is especially seen in cosmopolitan social setting in New York City, Chicago, Houston, LA, and San Francisco. Underway is the intermeshing of different Latino subpopulations had laid the foundations for the emergence and ongoing evolution of a strong sense of Latinidad, which establishes a sense of cultural affinity and identity deeply rooted in what many Hispanics perceive to be a culture, to be a shared historical, spiritual, aesthetic, and linguistic heritage, and a growing sense of cultural affinity and solidarity in the social context of the U.S. This unites Hispanics as one, creating cultural kin with other Hispanic ethnicities. All right. Cool. Yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap up. It's been over an hour. Wow. Wait, that's the time flies. But look at this deep history. Why is this? Oh, so the Latinos or Hispanics who went to different wars for U.S. I see. I see. Military, science and technology. This dude is Puerto Rican. Oh, how would I not guess that? All right. It's been kind of enlightening. I mean, I didn't know that a lot of people use Hispanic and Latino term interchangeably. That's that's news to me. I mean, I used to think Latino obviously mean Latin America, and I thought Hispanic was specifically for Mexico and Puerto Rico and uh, Guatemala, like and Colombia, and like just those 3 4 countries, and rest all were called Latinos. Um, yeah, but it was a good article. I kind of like it. Yeah, I like. I mean, obviously, I like to do these things, and Wikipedia article is interesting to me than a lot of other things. Uh, but I've never got into the Reddit, so I am hoping that the next session we land on the Reddit on that randomizer. So I do. I feel that Reddit is gonna be fun, uh, and can't wait to do that. But until next time, be safe, be peaceful, and I'll see you soon.